Hey there, I'm John Suscovich, and this is the latest and greatest in the Fix My Farm series. If you go to fixmy.farm, you'll get the whole series all laid out for you. And today we're going to go over my 2018, that's next year, my farm plan. You can tell that it's fall. I'm already planning for next year. Let's dive into it and see what I got in store. So it's pretty wild. I mean, over the last 4 years of farming on this specific piece of property, I have never been just a farmer. I've been a farmer, a property manager, a farmer, and a partner with a brewery and distillery, and a farmer and a partner and a property manager. And then you throw on top of it family, friends, having a kid, all that stuff. It's been a lot to manage, and I jumped into this property with some existing operations already here, and those operations weren't necessarily well installed or well suited for this piece of property. The further you get into farming, the more you'll realize that you can come into agriculture and you can come into your farming career with an idea of what you want to grow, what you want to produce, but until you land on a piece of land, that land will tell you what it wants to have grown there. And some of the factors are the fact that there may or may not be water, you may or may not have some weird terrain, you could have, a lot of resources, you could be on a main road, you can be well off the beaten path, you could have other operations that are already existing or part of your business. It's that holistic picture of where all your resources come into play will tell you what might make your farm profitable, what might make your farm profitable, because at the end of the day, farming requires a lot of work. It can be profitable, but it is very difficult. This year, my farm was not profitable because I allocated me as a resource and some of the farm's resources elsewhere, and I don't know that it's going to be profitable again next year, but let's get into what it is next year. So looking at my property, I have about 14 acres of pasture. I have a couple acres that are I call it our main homestead area, where we have our hop yard, we have our gardens, we have all the buildings, including our brewery and our tasting room, and yeah. And then a lot of this whole entire property is super wet. And then I got 12 acres of woods in the back. I got a strip, 2-acre strip for my pigs right down the middle of my pastures. I got 8 acres worth of pond behind me in the distance. And I've tried to do a lot of things through the last couple of years. We put an orchard in because we had a distillery. We put a hop yard in because we have a brewery that's on site. The distillery is off site and not. If we're connected as a business, but it's not on the farm itself. And over the last couple hundred years, getting away from me, this property has always been a dairy farm, some kind of livestock operation, mostly dairy, because it's so wet and the surrounding hillsides drain into here that it's suited for rotational livestock, where you can get them into the dry areas when it's dry and out of the wet areas when it's wet. So looking forward, what resources I have, what my holistic business of the brewery, distillery, and farm are doing, and how to push the farm forward in a way that makes sense contextually within that whole sphere of my own environment and biology and geology and all the ologies, and then the fact that we have a brewery on site and that's drawing people in, and I want to capitalize on the fact that I have a draw to my farm, which is not on a main road. It's way back, and that way coming in this way is a dirt road, that way is paved, but it's still 2 miles off the main road, and we're not allowed by town zoning to have any signs leading up to our property. So it's just, you have to know it's back here to want to come back here. There's no happenstance, there's no people driving by and just coming here. So the brewery, people love craft beer, and that's a draw, and that's amazing. So bringing people in for beer, I get farm tours every weekend, and I expose people to agriculture and what we do here and how the farm and the brewery overlap. And it's easier to tell that story with the farm and the brewery because they're together and it's tangible and people could see it, versus the distillery, which is off-site, and it's really hard to bring in that story because people can't see the distillery and we're not allowed by law to sell the spirits. So the farm, my farm plan for 2018, and then going forward 2019, 2021, whatever, is going to be capitalizing on the fact that we have the draw of the brewery and really playing up the story and being able to tell the story of what it is to be a farm brewery. So in years past, I brought in livestock, and there was some livestock here. There was an established egg laying operation here that was floundering a little bit and was pasture based but not mobile. I made it mobile and we rotated around the field. I became known in the area for the quality of my eggs, but pasture raised eggs, no matter what price I seem to sell them at, are very difficult to make a profit on. It was one of those things that it was tough. It was a lot of grain inputs, a lot of inputs, and I wasn't yielding a lot net profit at the end. Gross profit, it looked pretty good on paper. Net, after you calculate it in the hours and the feed and the care and lost birds to predators, or supplemental grit and calcium, it just didn't really pan out in a major way for us. So I scaled back to nothing at the end of this year, our egg laying operation. Pasture broilers, I've always had a passion in. That was my business before I came onto this farm, so I brought pasture broilers, because that seasonal rotational pastured livestock, where after we get out of the wetness of the spring, I can rotate birds and move them around the farm to the areas as they dry out on farm. And then I brought pigs in, and pigs have done really well where they can rotate on farm as well. I got a 2-acre strip, little kind of like 8-foot tall scrub area where they run underneath, and I try to manage that, and we'll get into that farm planning in the future. So livestock has worked for me, and that's been really good. And then telling the story of the brewery, I've tried to do too much in the past, where we had vegetables, and I tried to grow vegetables and grow some things that we can use in the beer. We had the hop yard, which was bigger than it is right now. I tried to forage some stuff. I'm doing livestock. I'm managing the property, So scaling back just to this year, with always having the livestock on, when something needs to be fed or need to be moved or is in trouble, livestock really lets you know. Where plants can kind of fall by the wayside sometimes, or you let a garden bed get overgrown. It's easier to let a garden bed get overgrown than it is to let your pigs go without feed, because they're going to let you know, and they're going to get out and they're going to come looking for feed. The garden bed's just going to sit there. So we've never had a big focus on the hop yard, but when I give my farm tours every week, a lot of the most questions I get asked are about the hops. People are really curious, and we have a direct use for them on the farm, a direct tie-in with the beer. So they're an ingredient that we can use. It's expensive locally. They go for $16 a pound, Connecticut local hops. That's pretty wild. So focusing on the hop yard this year, it'll satisfy the customer interest if people are coming in and curious about the hops, how hops go into beer, how the hop yard and the brewery interplay, because it's the direct connection. It's hard to tie what a chicken is doing to what a brewery is doing, but what a hop yard is doing and what a brewery is doing makes more sense. So my plan next year is to focus on the hop yard, scale back livestock, only do small batches of broilers, maybe not even do egg layers at all, or maybe have 20 just for myself and the people that work here. I'm thinking I'm not going to do pigs at all, because there's a capital outlay leading up to it, and all of that summer, that work that I could be spending time in the hop yard or building out the experience for the brewery and the tours and everything that the education that we have going on here, I would be spending on the pigs instead. So instead of trying a bunch of different operations, settling down into one main operation of the hops and making the farm look great and function well and have parking and do all the logistical stuff that it takes by being a property and land manager. I was both given and saddled with the opportunity and the obligation to make the outside function for everybody, in addition to running a farm, and trying to run a farm and do all that stuff and have visitors here was really difficult. So that is why I'm leading myself up to this farm plan in 2018, is that I'm capitalizing on the fact that we have a brewery, and I want to do stuff that makes sense for that demographic. We're no longer selling as many chickens to our farmers market and our CSA customers, only because we pulled back to concentrate on the farm store. And that's been a shift. I published a video about our demographic shift from farmers market to farm store, and that was a big change for us. So going forward, I really want the farm to make sense as a farm brewery. That is the plan. All of this is laid out in less yammering, kind of rambling detail on the blog. If you head over to fixmy.farm, there's an outline for everything. And if you look below on the notes section for this video, I have a link to the blog post that corresponds with this, that has my actual 2018 farm plan. We're gonna go over the budget next week and how numbers-wise this all plays out to the best of my knowledge and the best of my experience. But yeah, the farm plan itself and what I'm actually going to do laid out on that blog post page. As for me, I have work to do. I have to go back and finish up the projects that I was working on today. I took a little break before I lost my sunlight to shoot this video. It's been a calm, peaceful day, like really productive, really nice. It's an awesome time of year where I can really just kind of like focus, get stuff done. I'm done with livestock for the season. Hops are all put to bed, and now I can just make stuff happen, catch up on the work and the messes and the fires that I've been kind of like pushing off until this time of year. And before it gets super cold, before the snow comes, I got some stuff to do. So I'm gonna go back and do that. You guys check out that blog post. I'll throw up some pictures from this year. And yeah, until next time, I will see you out in the field.